Integration by parts, part 3, the tabular method. Suppose we have an integral of the form x to the n, where n is an integer greater than 1, times one of the following. E to the ax, a is a constant, sine of ax, cosine of ax, dx. These are integration by parts integrals. But if I have one of these forms, there's a shortcut called the tabular method. Let's look at an example. Let's do the integral of x squared times cosine of x dx. I know this is integration by parts. I know that it will take 2 iterations to do this. That is, I'll have to set up u and dv twice. But since it's of the form above, we have a method called the tabular method. And this is the way that I do it. There are other ways, but this is the way that I like to set it up. In one column, I put u and its derivatives. And in the column next to it, we're going to put dv and its antiderivatives. And we're going to start with u. As a general rule, if we have this form, u is going to be x to the power, in this case x squared. We will start taking derivatives. The derivative of x squared is 2x. The derivative of 2x is 2. The derivative of 2 is 0. And we stop when we get to 0. On the right, we'll put down dv. We don't need to put the dx, just the cosine of x part. And we're going to start taking antiderivatives. The antiderivative of cosine is the sine. The antiderivative of the sine of x is the negative cosine of x. The antiderivative of negative cosine x is negative sine x. And we stop when we get to the same level as the 0. Now we can do the following. First, on my column over here, I'm going to do plus minus, plus minus. I don't really need it with a 0, but I'll do it just to do it. And then we're going to draw arrows at a diagonal, like this. Without going into a lot of explanation, but if you remember that the integral of u dv is uv minus the integral of v du, then the first part is going to be uv, which is represented by this first arrow here. If we have to do the process more than once, we will start nesting negative signs back here, which is why these signs over here go back and forth, plus minus, plus minus. But basically at this point I have the answer. So the integral of x squared cosine x dx is, I just take these first two and multiply them. X squared times sine of x. Then I take the next two and multiply them. I have negative 2x times negative cosine of x, so it's going to be positive 2x cosine x. Then I take the last two and I multiply them, and I get negative 2 sine x plus c. When you recognize tabular method and get good at it, you can do these very quickly. let's look at the example. X cubed times e to the negative 2x dx. It fits my form up here, x to the n times e to the something x. So I can do tabular method. I'll make my columns u and its derivatives. And then over here I'll put dv and its antiderivatives. I will choose my u. U is going to be x to the number, so x cubed. And I'll start taking derivatives. The derivative of x cubed is 3x squared. The derivative of 3x squared is 6x. Derivative of 6x is 6. And then 0, and we stop. And then I'll put down dv without the dx, so e to the negative 2x. Now, technically when I find the antiderivatives, it's going to be a u sub, but I'm going to do these pretty quickly. You might want to go back and review how to do u substitution or integration by substitution. The integral of e to the negative 2x is negative 1/2 e to the negative 2x. If you'd like to check real quick, take the derivative of this and see that you get back where you started. But I will continue. The antiderivative of negative 1/2 e to the negative 2x will be 1/4 e to the negative 2x. The next antiderivative will be negative 1/8 e to the negative 2x. And the final one, because I'm going to line up with a 0, will be 1/16 e to the negative 2x. And I'll put my plus, minus, plus, minus. I won't put it on the 0. I'll draw my diagonal arrows. And then I'll start putting things together. I'm not necessarily going to simplify my fractions. We'll just get the answer. So the integral of x cubed e to the negative 2x dx is, let's look at our first one, look at our signs. It's going to be negative 1/2 x cubed e to the negative 2x. Take the next one. I'll have negative 3x squared times 1/4 e to the negative 2x. So it's going to be negative 3x squared, let's see, over 4 e to the negative 2x. Take the third one. I'll have negative again, so negative 6x over 8 e to the negative 2x. Final one, negative 6 over 16 e to the negative 2x. And now we'll put our plus c.